Hello everyone, welcome to the live session for the System Design for Sustainability course. So if you have any questions, you can type your questions on the chat box in this particular link. Meanwhile, we will start answering the questions which we have received already. So we have our first question asked, will be the exam subjective type or objective type for sustainable development? So the exam will have three types of questions. So the first type is a MCQ type question where you have to select the options, and these will be on the basis of your recall from the study of the slides or the study of the course content. These will be 10 questions in numbers. The second type will be again MCQ, and these will be 15 questions, and these questions will be modifications of the questions that have been asked in the assignment. The third section is of subjective questions. These questions are 10 questions in number, and they are on the basis of your understanding of the course content which has been delivered in System Design for Sustainability. Next question asks, how can we do sustainable project in agricultural sector? So, if you are online, then you can ask me a more specific question about it, because the agricultural sector is a very wide sector. So, it can imply sustainability in terms of agronomy, where you are talking more about growing crops and how can you grow them more sustainably, how can you measure the sustainability of doing agriculture. You can also measure the sustainability of enterprises involved in agricultural practices. You can do sustainability assessment for at a farm level, at the national level, at the sectorial level. You can also do in our lab we do a lot of work in sustainable agricultural machinery development. So agricultural sector as such means a very wide thing, and sustainable projects in that can imply a lot of different things. So if you are online, you can type your question in more specifically so that I can tell you something specifically about it. Now I will try to answer it in a more generic terms. So let's start with the agriculture machinery design that we do at our lab by considering sustainability. So, Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations has a program called Sustainable Agriculture Mechanization. What it says is that mechanization, it can be any kind of machinery, whether it is hand drawn, hand powered, animal drawn, or drawn with the power from a tractor or a power tiller or any such kind of an engine. uh, how can you design mechanization considering any of these modes of source of energy, and the machinery should be designed in a manner that it is environment friendly, economically feasible, and socially acceptable. So again, if it is a context where the machinery does not have much utilization in individual ownership, like you studied during our product service system design modules, if the machine does not have enough usage in ownership based consumption and is expensive for ownership based consumption, then we need to also look into how to develop product service systems around those mechanization solutions to make it sustainable. We also need to link the machinery to the entire value chain. So, say for example, a machinery which is about soil preparation just does not look at soil preparation. It has to look at all the activities which needs to be done before it, after it. So, in the entire value chain, which can start from the stage one of agriculture to the end stage where the product has been value added and finally sold into the market. So, when we are doing these mechanizations, we have to look how this mechanization not only affects one part of the agricultural processes but the entire value chain, and design it in a manner that it fits into a sustainable value creation sustainable value chain creation model. So I will give you an example of one such machinery that we are developing. So we have worked on the development of ginger and turmeric washing machine and turmeric steamer. So what we considered in this particular project is in the states of Assam and Meghalaya, where the farms which are doing ginger and turmeric farming are not very large. So in their context, and the farms can be also very remotely located. So for their context, to ship such smaller volumes of produce to a city center or to a district level center for processing is not very economically gainful for the farmers. As a result, they prefer selling it as a raw produce. So what we tried to do was create on-farm machinery. So these machinery can be hired on by the farmers. These machinery travel to the farms on a tempo, and they do the job on the farm, and then they can go to the next farm, or they can wind up the day depending on the situation. So a product service system design has been created. The sustainability of the entire value chain on the environmental, economic and social dimension has been worked on in this particular case. So I have still not got a more detailed question on this, so I will move on to the next question. If you want, you can still put down a more detailed question about which agriculture sector you meant when you asked this question. So the next question, I am not very clear about the next question. It is talking about, is the theoretical concept of sustainability design unsustainable in practical? I do not understand exactly what you mean by the question. Why did you think that it is unsustainable in practical? If you can write down on the chat, it will be great, and then I can answer this question further. Uh, if I understand it, if you mean by the difficulties involved in doing a design for sustainability, yes, design for sustainability is a tough job. So we call a problem on design for sustainability as a wicked problem. Why we call it as a wicked problem? Because it requires too many parameters to be considered. It involves the environmental dimension, the social dimension, the economic dimension, and all of them needs to become considered at the same time, and we have to make a lot of trade-off decisions and come to a solution. Also, it is a wicked problem because as soon as we deal with human systems, so if you had gone through the very first lecture of this course, which spoke about different types of systems, so whenever there is a system which involves human beings, it becomes a very complex system, because human beings might not react in the same way to a particular stimulus. There are a lot of uncertainties involved. So that's why design for sustainability problem, which has to look at both the consumption and the production. So consumption is driven by human beings. It becomes a very wicked problem to solve. So yes, it's a very difficult problem to solve, but I would not call it an unsustainable unsustainable and making it practical. It is just a difficult to solve problem. For that matter, any system design project is a difficult to solve problem. It's a wicked problem, every system design. And so is system design for sustainability problem. The next question asks, in week 10 assignment question 2, the Lijjat Papad example, why we are not considering the distributed disposal because it is done at each consumer end. Uh, if you mean that the plastic wrapping which in which the papad comes and it is disposed of by individual consumers in this particular question. So why we are not talking about the distributed disposal phase of it, because it's not a planned disposal. So as far as I know, currently they do not have any system in which they are trying to do some kind of sustainable distributed disposal of it. So that's why in that question, this was not selected as one of the answers. So the whole enterprise has been designed around distributed manufacturing mm, to a certain extent in combination with centralized manufacturing. So the dough is made at centralized level because you want to control the, you want to have uniform taste, whereas the papads are made, can be made at individual homes. So a part of the manufacturing or the production process is centralized, the rest part is distributed. The distribution of the distribution or marketing of the whole papad, that is again done in a centralized manner. The week 12 question, design attractive products for collective use under minimizing energy consumption in lecture 1 of week 12. Could you please explain with an example? Okay. So, if you look at the engineering criteria that I have given for for performing environment friendly design, you would see that this design attractive products might have come up in many contexts. But when I say design attractive products for collective use in the context of minimizing energy consumption, what it implies is, say for example, solar panels. Right now, if anybody is interested in generating solar energy or converting their water heating system into solar water heating system, they buy the entire system, which is pretty expensive, and install it at home and consume it. So it is consumption on ownership basis. But we can also, but we all know that if we are using solar power, we can minimize energy consumption. So now, if we have to optimize it in the in the best possible way, it is a better idea to have a collective solar system, which is not owned by anybody, but which is owned by the company, the providing company, so that they can keep it in the best of running shape, and they can ensure that so if they are providing to you hot water, say hot water at 70 degree Celsius, and you are paying on hot water basis, you do not really bother whether they are paying you by solar power or by diesel power or by electricity or whatever. So what they can create is an attractive product for collective use, where their purpose is 70 degrees Celsius water should be always available. Now they will try to optimize the system in a manner that, of course, you cannot run it in the most likely situation with only solar power, because there might be times when that is insufficient, and there might be people who want to take a bath in the middle of the night, and at that point of time you might not have enough energy left to still provide water at 70 degrees Celsius. So most likely situation under such circumstances will be creation of a hybrid system. So now what you have to create is a hybrid solution which is attractive to people. Attractive can be made in terms of price attractive. So that's why I'm not talking how attractive. Things can be attractive because they look attractive. Things can be attractive because you think that it offers you certain opportunities. Things can be attractive because the price is attractive. And so a lot of things can make something attractive. So you can design attractive products or offerings for collective use, which as a whole minimizes energy consumption. So I hope the example makes it clear for you. If you have further questions, you can ask me. Okay, so the next set of questions are regarding the exam. Would the exam be closed book? Yes, the exam is closed book. Would it be online or written? It's an online exam. What all should we carry along with us to the exam center? Would the instructions be available along with the hall ticket? You don't need anything very special for writing the exam because you will be using the computer to do the same. Uh, for the exam you actually are going to use only the computer. Rest whatever is required in terms of hall tickets, pens and such stationery is what you need to get specifically for the course. There is no such requirement. How many subjective questions would be there? There would be 10 subjective questions which will be on the basis of your understanding of the concepts that have been spoken about in system design for sustainability. So that was about all the questions that we received. Okay, so we have a question in the chat which says, in the Lijat Papad example, one more question. Since the knowledge or training is given at each center, can we consider the knowledge production as decentralized knowledge production? When the knowledge is disseminated, we do not talk about it as production. So there is no knowledge production, there is knowledge dissemination that you are talking about. So that's why it is not it's not decentralized knowledge production. It's knowledge dissemination. If the training happens at multiple centers but it is conducted by one organization, then it is not decentralized. So what we mean by when we talk about centralized, decentralized or distributed, we are talking about who has the ownership. So, if Lijat Papad has the ownership of all the training facilities and Lijat Papad is responsible for giving the training, then it is not decentralized, it is not distributed even if it happens in multiple centers, because it is they who are responsible for offering it. They can also hire a third party to give it, but they are the ones who are responsible for offering it. So, it is a centralized system. Whenever something so a cooperative is a decentralized ownership model, because there are multiple number of people who are owners of. So in that case, sorry, in a cooperative, when production is happening, say for example in case of Amul, because the production is happening in many different households, you can call it as a distributed production model, because all these units are connected to each other and they are doing their production. But say when Amul distributes the product, so it is taken care of by the company Amul as such. So in that case, your distribution is happening at a centralized manner. Let me give you an example of decentralized knowledge production. So say for example Wikipedia. In Wikipedia, there is no one person who is doing the production of knowledge. It's something which multiple number of people are creating that particular knowledge. Yes, it is being curated. There are the servers are being provided, so certain aspects of it, Wikipedia is centralized, certain aspects are distributed in nature. So knowledge production in case of Wikipedia is happening in a distributed manner. So, say for example, in this particular course that we are doing, because I am the one who is talking and giving the information, so it is more of a centralized model where I am giving it and all of you are the ones who are getting it. Whereas there are other learning platforms. Say, for example, we have this learning platform called Lens platform, the Learning and Education Network in Sustainability. That's a distributed network for production of knowledge in design for sustainability, and dissemination also happens in a distributed manner. Uh, so I hope the concept is clear. Now, if you have further questions, you can ask me. If you have any other questions, you can type on the chat box. So, in the meanwhile, while we are waiting for more questions to come, I can talk about some prospective areas of research that you can collaborate with us as part of your academic collaborations, which can be in the form of PhDs, postdocs, or also in the form of industry collaborations, or even collaborations like internships and master's thesis projects. Uh, yeah, so some of the projects that we are doing in our lab is a lot of our focus is on designing for the craft sector. So Professor Ravi Mokashi has been working a lot in design for so again his is a distributed model for knowledge production and knowledge dissemination for the craft sector, specifically for the bamboo and cane sector. So he has done extensive work in the state of Assam as well as Meghalaya and the governments of both the states, and created fabulous range of products, training programs. So in these training programs, the knowledge production as well as knowledge dissemination happens in a centralized manner. So since I have this question, would you be able to give an example to clarify decentralized and distributed? So maybe I can talk about this particular example and it might help you. So in the context of the craft industry, the craftsmen have excelled in their particular craft skill over centuries. So their families have been into that particular business, and they have learned as a little kid from their parents and from their grandparents and so on. So they are very adept at what they do, and they possess a lot of tacit knowledge which should be which we as designers do not possess or might not possess. Some of us might possess, but mostly not. So now in this particular training program, the problem that was observed with the bamboo and cane industry was the products were fabulous, very beautiful, but they lacked standardization. So in industrially produced products, there is standardization. Each product is of the same size. They can hold the same volume. They can are designed for stackability. Molds are used. Jigs and fixtures are used to ease in the manufacturing process, the assembly process, the disassembly process, and so on. Whereas in the craft sector, that kind of knowledge was not present. So what this project very interestingly, in this project, Professor Ravi Mokashi and two other professors, Professor Avinash Shinde and Professor sorry, I cannot recall the name. They together came up with a very interesting model for disseminating knowledge. So they realized that as product product designers, we do have the skill on standardization, how to design for standardization, how to design for ease of manufacturing, ease of assembly, and the craft sector people have the knowledge of the craft sector and of the specific material. So, very interactive training sessions were conducted where we learned from the craftsmen on the craft, and we taught them about how to make molds, how to standardize products, what kind of products should be made so that they are contemporary and people would like to buy, what kind of sector the product should be sold at. So say for example, if I have to get a premium price, should I be selling the product to, should I be selling the basket in the local market, or should this basket be sold to say the hospitality industry? Of course, the hospitality industry will produce much higher returns for the craftsmen, and that's a sector where this product's craft value, the handmade value, will be very high as well. In these interactive sessions, the knowledge cross pollination was happened. After the craftsmen were taught about the skills of making mold and how to standardize, what kind of products to make, where to market them, and so on. Say for example, the mold was mutually further developed. So we contributed in terms of our product design knowledge, and the craftsmen contributed in terms of their craft knowledge. So in this particular model, what we did was, in with those particular and with the knowledge developed, we went on to the next community and further developed the knowledge. So whatever we learned in the previous thing, we took back to the next community, learned further and developed further. We brought that back to the first community, and this kind of cross pollination happened. Now, if you look at this particular model, who was the who had the onus for operationalizing this system? So the faculty members at IIT, they had the onus of operationalizing this whole system. So in that particular context, I can say that the organization of the workshop, the administrative aspects of the workshop were centralized and were conducted by the involved faculty members uh, uh, through IIT. The project was funded by the government of Meghalaya. So that was the structure of the problem. Now, when we come to knowledge production, so the knowledge production happened in a distributed manner. So the faculty members, the craftsmen, they all together tried to come up with new knowledge. The knowledge which was developed by working with one particular community of craftsmen, when we went to the next one, we could bring in new knowledge. So in this particular context, the knowledge production was happening in a very distributed manner. So here we did not have a decentralized manner, but say we are going to take this project to a stage wherein we want this whole mechanism to become very independent. So now let's say this particular model of training and development of new production techniques, because it's a continuous process. You need to keep on evolving your product. You need to keep on evolving marketing strategies. You need to keep on designing new kind of products. So rather than the centralized model where we keep on doing it and going into community, we can also think of a decentralized model for doing the whole activity. So say this particular intellectual property that we had of creating this kind of organization, or what we can call it as a living lab, as it is popularly called, this kind of experiments. So this kind of a living lab can be put up for adoption, say by various organizations, various NGOs or non-profits, who can then so many of these can get this particular living lab concept and start doing the similar kind of activities. Then what we are having is a decentralized model for operationalizing the living lab. So I hope this particular example brings in certain degree of clarity. Now let me tell you, there is centralized and distributed are two extremes. Decentralization comes somewhere in between. Absolute distributedness is a theoretical concept. It is not possible where you have in absolute distributedness. What it implies is all the units have similar kind of power and similar kind of strength and are offering the same kind of have similar kind of contribution in the system. And if one network drops down somehow because of some reason, the system can take care of that broken network and fill it up. So absolute distributedness is not possible. So what we can do is we can achieve get more towards distributedness, but not reach the absolute distributedness as we have spoken in the lectures. I am sure I also spoke in the lectures about the same thing, that you cannot reach absolute distributedness. So we can tend towards more distributedness. So if you have any more questions, you can ask me. The question says, can we say like this, distributed is when the contributors are separate or independent, and decentralized is the same entities, and decentralized is the same entities, different centers. Yes, you can say that. So a cooperative can be, sorry, uh, say for example, if it is say a company like Pepsi, which has many factories, then it is not decentralized. Then it is it's a centralized because the same company. Decentralized is the same is something which is offered by the same entity in different centers, but it is not controlled in a centralized manner. So, say for example, all IITs, they can have their independence, and they all take and their entrance exam is the same. Their governing ministry is the same, but they do have their independence in setting their question papers, say for example, or running their day-to-day businesses, running the way they want to structure their department, structure their curriculum. So then in that case, you can say that it is a decentralized model, because each IIT has they are separate entities, and they can do their activities independent of each other. Whereas in the example that I spoke about Pepsi, each of those factories are not independent entities. They follow a centralized company's ways of doing things. So then it is a centralized model. Do you have any other questions? If you have any questions, you can post it in the chat session over here. Okay, since we do not have any more questions coming up, so let me continue with the discussion that I was continuing regarding research collaborations. So one of the area was the craft sector that I spoke about, sustainability related to knowledge production, knowledge dissemination, also development of new product solutions, new manufacturing techniques, all keeping in mind the principles of sustainability. So that's one of the research area that we are engaged in. We have another faculty member, Professor Pankaj Upadhyay, who is engaged in design for base of the pyramid. So he has done a very interesting projects related to sustainable product service system design for, say, the Dhobi community, and other such kind of communities. My area of work revolves a lot around agricultural machinery design and design for sustainability. So all of us actually work in tandem with each other, but I'm just speaking in terms of more of specialization. So we have developed many different agricultural machinery in our lab, following the principles of design for sustainability. We also work in other domains of design for sustainability. Say, for example, one of our student worked on developing guidelines for social sustainability for social media. So, all of you must have heard in various news channels about, say, group of tourists were beaten up by the local community because on WhatsApp there was a forward which said that there are child kidnappers around, and so such kind of rumors. Now WhatsApp is not responsible for that. Neither WhatsApp was designed keeping in mind that such kind of activities can happen. But we all now know that social media has been used for many kind of activities which are not very socially sustainable. So her research work revolved around what kind of guidelines can be created for social media platform development, so that social sustainability can be kept in mind at right at the very beginning while designing these social media platforms. Another of our student was working on what can be the agricultural curriculum design for school students. So, rural schools where people's livelihood depends a lot on agriculture, it would be a good idea to connect the rural kids in with agriculture and teach them how to make agriculture more sustainable, more profitable, and as a attractive profession for their future. So, in order to do that, we can develop appropriate curriculum, which should include things related to knowledge of agriculture, knowledge of doing business, how to expand your business, how to look at agriculture from the perspective of sustainability, from the perspective of making profits without damaging the environment, and so on. There was another group of students who were working on development of a application which gives the fishermen a platform, so for organizing. So these are fishermen who do fishing in their ponds. So they need to know what is the market value of the fish that they can procure, and if they fish today, what kind of logistics services can they use, how can they optimize their cost on the logistics services, and also optimize the price that they can get from the market. So in order to do that, so this platform helps the fishermen to do the same. So all these fishermen can use this platform to together plan and optimize their operations. They can also use the platform to order medicines for the medicines or feed for the fish collectively, so as to optimize onto their costs. One of our PhD students work was around sustainability in the context of green buildings. So he was looking into institutional buildings, and how making them as a green building, what are the challenges into it, and how you can develop a particular toolkit which helps specifically institutional building developers in designing green buildings for the Indian context. The institutional buildings that he considered were all educational buildings. Another of our student is looking into, she is also a PhD student, and she is looking into school education again. So, rather than having a very bookish school education, how the school education can involve certain kind of skill development. These skills can come handy when people can use them for creating, so say for example, for creating products for their own consumption, for solving their own problems, and also for converting that into self-employment opportunities in future. So what can be a curriculum which can help that kind of hands-on learning experience for students, so that they take up making as a not only as a hobby but also as a future profession. They can see that as a prospective, and as a result um, give further momentum to the movements like Make in India, Atmanirbhar India. So how to propagate this making culture through school curriculum development. So this was about some of the research work that we are doing. You can come to our website. You can see some of our very interesting research work which is happening now. Given the COVID scenario, many of our students have started working on how to improve learning experience of students, as well as the teaching experience of teachers and their learning experience on online platforms. How to improve the immersiveness of the this online engagement platforms, because that's very important for the sustainability of the education system. Given the current scenario, the scenario also opens up further possibilities for future, when we really do not need to be in one-to-one contact, and can have good education, immersive education, fruitful education through online media. Also, it opens up a lot of new opportunities for all of us. So that's about some of the research that we are doing. You are most welcome to join us in some of these research work. You can write to any one of us. You can go to our lab website, and we are 3 faculty members associated with it. You can write to any one of us. Uh, Now talking about some interesting research domains which are like opening up in the domain of design for sustainability. So, because design for sustainability is a wicked problem, and uh, mm, machine learning, artificial intelligence, they do offer these new tools which can be used to solve some of these wicked problem solving. That's a very new domain of research which can be taken up. Product service system design is another domain of research, and is again also in its nascent stages, and can be taken up for further research work. Design for social innovation is yet another emerging domain. Social innovation has always happened, but if you want to do design for social innovation, how can you have tools and methodologies for doing them? That is the area of interesting the research contribution. Okay, we have a question. Is the website of IITG that would have the details of the research projects and the contact points? It's not the website of the IITG. Yes, of course, we are connected to the website of IITG, but specifically, you can go to the website of Sustainability and Social Innovation Lab. So I will repeat the name again, Sustainability and Social Innovation Lab. So you can search that on Google and we will appear as the first or the second search result. There you will find all the details regarding our work and our collaborations and the contact details of people involved. Okay, I will have to search. I will share the name of the. So I have typed the uh, lab address in the chat session, so you can go through it. So if you have any more questions, then you can put it up on the chat session, or otherwise I will wish you all the best for the exam and hoping for future collaborations and a lot of sustainable work. Okay, since we do not have any more questions, so we will call off the session now. It was a great pleasure reading your assignments and your project work and wish you all the best. Thank you.